Thanks, guys. So this morning I am joined with Kevin Kelly, and he is a professor of instructional technologies at our very own San Francisco State University. He has a doctorate in education from the University of San Francisco and got his master's here in ITEC from SFSU. He is here to discuss the Cambridge Analytica incident and the data that was accessed from as many as 87 million Facebook users. So how are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So the first question we're going to ask is, what does it mean for a third party to access our data?
So let's break that down into parts. First, what's a third party? Then what data are they collecting, and then what are they doing with it? So first, a third party, Facebook's a platform. And so while they provide some basic functionalities like allowing you to connect with friends and share your photos and create a timeline, they don't do everything. And so they pull in third-party developers, which are either individuals or companies who make things like games, Candy Crush Saga, and you can use those to connect with your friends in new ways, and they are benefiting from the Facebook infrastructure. Next, the data they collect, Facebook collects our activity. They track everything we do, our profiles, as well as our connections. But then advertisers who benefit from Facebook also collect data, such as things that you enter, like your email address and other personal information. And last, a third category of third-party developers are specifically focused on data collection and data analysis.
Okay.
And so that is the group that we want to talk about today, because they're trying to use the data to help Facebook create stronger ads targeted at specific people because of their patterns. And so they use that information to help Facebook attract more advertisers and make more money with their advertising.
Okay, so then what do you think these third parties are doing with the data after they've collected it?
So with that data collection and analysis, they're able to do a number of things. And some, it's helpful. So Google tracks our data and are able to give us smarter search results based on things they learned about us from the past. But in other cases, you might have that persistent advertisement for shoes that you've already bought, but it keeps coming up because they know you were looking at those shoes earlier.
Yeah, I always feel like, with Amazon especially too, that you'll see that your recent searches will show up when you're on another browser.
Exactly, and that's because the data is going to go across different platforms. They share the data, and that's what Cambridge Analytica was doing that got them in trouble.
So now what can SFSU students do to protect ourselves after these scandals?
Well, I would say there's two things that they should do. One is to be aware, and the other is to be intentional. So what do I mean by those? Well, first, being aware. Every time you join a free website, there's a button that you click saying, I agree. So most people don't read that statement of what they're agreeing to, and some of it is, hey, we're going to use your data in these ways. And so even if you're not going to read those statements completely, even I confess that I don't. But I do skim them to make sure the categories make sense to me. The second thing in terms of being intentional is think before you click. And so just like the old phrase used to be, think before you speak, now we're agreeing to do things online in different ways. And knowing who we share things with can be controlled in our settings. So if you don't want a prospective employer to see a picture of you at a party with a beer cup in your hand, then maybe you only share your pictures with your friends. And so that being intentional is doing things not just because it's fun, but also because you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, being aware. That's a key thing to take away from this too. And then next question. So can we figure out specifically who has our data? I think there might be like a website we can check out.
Absolutely. And so first, we're talking about Facebook because of this particular incident, but you should be aware that everybody is collecting our data. Google collects our data, and even offline groups like rewards cards and Wi-Fi groups are collecting data about your cell phone patterns and mobile phone device patterns. And so we have to be aware that data analytics is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so trying to figure out who has our data can be difficult. There's a journalist who tracked that 600 different apps have some of her data. And some of them have as many as 3,000 different pieces of information about her. And so, as you mentioned, there is a website called aboutyourdata.com, which shows you what one of the groups associated with the Cambridge Analytica, called Axiom, it shows you what they know about you. And in some cases, they fill in gaps. So based on your profile patterns, I might be a mother of 2 teenagers looking for, a dress because of the things that I've clicked on. But the fact is that they know a lot about us. So that's interesting. Next, we have a great article by The Guardian, which is a news site out of the United Kingdom, and they have a long list of ways that you can see what people know about you. One of them is going to Google. It's myactivity.google.com/myactivity. And you can find out what do they know about what you've done on their platform.
Okay. That's really good to hear. And then we have time for just one more question today, and that would be, do you think Facebook knew this would happen, or was it an unintended consequence?
I think it's a little of both. I don't think they intended for it to happen, but I think it's hard to believe that they couldn't have predicted it would happen. In the same way, if you're familiar with Jules Verne, he's an author from the 1800s, he predicted the car before it was invented, but he also predicted traffic jams. And so when we think about the technologies that we're inventing today, artificial intelligence, all these things, we have to think about what can it do for us, but also what can it do to us. And so we just have to be thinking about that as we enter the world.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kevin. That was such great insight. I'm glad you could come in, and we're just going to send it back to you guys at the desk. So thanks.